Today we're installing these rotors and brake pads from a company called PowerStop. I love the products from this company and I recommend them to anybody that wants to use them. This is going to be installed in a 2008 Mercedes E350 base model, and this is just the front brakes. We're going to start by removing this cover to gain access to the master cylinder. This is on the driver's side. So what we want to do here is we want to drain some brake fluid out of the master cylinder to make up the difference that when we compress the front caliper pistons, the fluid has a place to go. So here I'm using a vacuum pump with a reservoir to suck out the brake fluid. Once you've evacuated enough fluid, go ahead and put everything back on and just put the cap on lightly. Now we'll start by knocking, or excuse me, first we're gonna separate the pads from the rotors. I use a big flat tip screwdriver, and the further apart you can get them, the better, because it'll ease in the removal of the brake pads. Then you're going to get a punch and punch out the locking pins that hold the pads in place. Just knock them back far enough where you can pull them out the other side. And you can hold the anti-rattle clip to help you pull it out. And all this comes in a kit, except for the pins. You're going to reuse the pins. So here you see the pads come right on out. Next, you're going to remove the caliper anchor bolts. They're not on there very tight, so they're easy to break loose. Just take them all the way off. And now you want to secure the caliper. I use a hook, like a welder's hook, and just hook it anywhere. Just keep it out of the way so it's not hanging on the brake line. You don't want to damage that. Next, you're going to need a, I believe it's a T30 Torx, and take this rotor locating bolt out, and grab a nice good size hammer, and don't be afraid to hit on this thing. Some of these are on there real hard, so just give it a good whack, or a couple, or whatever it takes to get it off. We're going to be discarding these rotors anyway, so it doesn't matter how hard we hit them. And new rotors, I like to clean them off just to get off any residual oil from the manufacturing, or sometimes they'll put a protective coating on them. Just give them a good little wipe down. I'm using Brake Clean here, and just wipe both sides. And these rotors are directional, so there'll be one that's designated for the left front and one that's designated for the right front, so don't get them confused. Now go ahead and just line up your rotor with the locating bolt. Put a little Loctite on it. Then just go ahead and snug it down. And go ahead and torque it to spec. Put thread locker on the caliper anchor bolts as well. And go ahead and put your caliper in place and torque down the bolts. They should be, I believe, around 115 Newton meters or something like that. Now grab your new pads. Doesn't matter which ones are which. They're all the same. So see how much easier it goes to install? That's because I had separated it far enough to get the pads in. Every once in a while you may have to tap on the ends of the brake pads to fit in there, because sometimes the little metal backing plate is a little too wide to get them to fit. You can use 2 screwdrivers too to push back on the pistons as well. And then go ahead and put your rattle clip back on and your pins. And you want to tap these pins in all the way till they're flush. And that's pretty much it. Now on the other side, this is now the passenger side. It's pretty much the same thing as we just did on the other side, except this one here, as you can see, has a sensor attached to the brake pad. So the only different thing you're going to do here is you're going to unplug your connector to the sensor. Now on this model here, on this job here, I didn't actually wear it down to the indicator, so you can technically reuse this sensor if you wanted to. But a lot of times people will drive them down to the point where it wears on the sensor and you cannot reuse it. So go ahead and remove the bolt that holds the sensor harness in place. So here it is. So you could pull this out and reuse it if you wanted to. So now here I have it all back together. And here's the new sensor. And you'll see a little hole on the brake pad right there. Just line it up. And you'll have a little pin, and you just slide it all the way through. Just push it on as hard as you can with your fingers. And that's it. That's all that's to it. Now it's just a matter of setting up your harness for the sensors in the back and the clips. Make sure you put everything back, and then you're going to just put this harness holder back in place with the bolt, and you're going to plug in your sensor, and you're pretty much done with this job. There you go. Now make sure you follow what's recommended to use for brake fluid. This one here, as you see, says .4. Sometimes it'll be written on the reservoir itself. So take a look around and find the proper fluid to use for your application. And then after you're done with this, before you drive it, pump the brakes a few times and then follow the procedure that comes with the brake pads. It'll give you some instructions for proper break-in. That's it. Good luck, everyone. And of course, feel free to comment or ask any questions, and I'll try and respond as quickly as possible. And don't forget to like my channel. Later.